If you're a student who calls yourself lazy, but deep inside you know you're ambitious, then listen very carefully, because this might be the only video that actually understands you. Most people will tell you, work harder, wake up at 5 a.m., study for 12 hours a day, be disciplined. But let me ask you honestly, if you could do that, wouldn't you already be doing it? If you could magically transform into that ultra-productive robot, wouldn't you already be top of your class? So clearly, the advice you've been hearing doesn't work for you, because you are not like everyone else. You are lazy, yes, but you are also ambitious. And that's a rare, dangerous, and powerful combination. See, laziness by itself is weakness. Ambition by itself is just fantasy. But when someone has both, when someone is lazy yet ambitious, they don't waste energy chasing things in the hardest way possible. They find shortcuts. They discover hacks. They outsmart the system. They don't play the game the way others do. And if you learn how to use this dual nature of yours properly, you can rise higher than those so-called hard-working students who grind every single day. Now here's the harsh truth. Right now, your laziness is controlling you. You procrastinate. You put things off. You scroll. You dream big, but your actions don't match your vision. And because of that, you constantly feel guilty, frustrated, and secretly scared. Scared that maybe you'll never actually achieve what you know you're capable of. That maybe 10 years from now, you'll look back and say, I wasted everything because I couldn't get off my phone. But let me flip that. What if you could use laziness to your advantage? What if instead of fighting against your natural wiring, you learned to bend it? What if you could design a study method where your brain doesn't feel like it's working 10 times harder than it wants to, but still gets results 10 times faster than others? That's when the ambitious side of you finally wakes up. That's when you start to feel unstoppable. Because here's something nobody will tell you. The lazy student who learns the right strategy will always outperform the hardworking student who uses the wrong strategy. Why? Because effort without intelligence is wasted energy. But intelligence, combined with ambition, guided by laziness, it creates efficiency. And efficiency is the ultimate weapon. Think about it. The world's greatest inventors, thinkers, and leaders were not people who wanted to suffer endlessly. They were people who found faster, smarter ways to achieve results. They cut corners, but in the right places. They discovered how to put in the least amount of energy for the maximum reward. And isn't that exactly what you want? To succeed without killing your spirit? To dominate without draining yourself every day? Right now, you're probably split into two voices in your head. One says, I want success. I want good grades. I want to build a future. The other says, but I don't want to wake up at 4 a.m. I don't want to grind endlessly. I don't want to waste my youth studying non-stop. And the conflict between those two voices is what keeps you stuck. This video, if you really pay attention, will silence that conflict forever. It will show you how to study like a lazy genius, not like a mindless workhorse. So here's my warning. If you keep watching, your excuses will lose their power. You won't be able to hide behind I'm lazy anymore. Because by the end of this, you'll realize that laziness is not your weakness. It's your greatest weapon, if you know how to wield it. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. So decide right now. Are you going to keep living in guilt, telling yourself stories about how lazy you are? Or are you going to keep watching and finally discover how to turn that so-called weakness into an unfair advantage? If you're truly ambitious, even if just a little part of you is serious about winning, then stay, because what's coming next will rewire the way you think about studying forever. Point 1. Stop fighting laziness. Redefine it. The first mistake you've been making is treating laziness like an enemy. You keep telling yourself, I'm lazy. I need to change. I need to force myself to become disciplined. But think about this logically. If laziness is already part of your wiring, do you really think you can erase it? Fighting it only drains you even more. Instead, you need to redefine laziness. Laziness doesn't mean you don't want success. Laziness simply means your brain refuses to waste energy on things it finds meaningless. And that's not a curse. That's an evolutionary survival mechanism. Your brain is literally trying to save energy for things that matter. The problem is, you've been tricking it. You've been studying in boring, traditional ways that your brain perceives as meaningless. That's why you procrastinate, not because you're weak, but because your system is outdated. So here's the mindset shift. Stop trying to kill laziness. Start bending it. Tell yourself, I'm not lazy, I'm efficient. From this moment, laziness isn't an excuse. It's a filter. If something feels boring, you don't avoid it. You redesign it. You don't fight laziness. You weaponize it. And once you see yourself that way, suddenly, guilt disappears. You no longer hate yourself for procrastinating. You start asking, how do I trick my brain into enjoying this? That question is the foundation of everything. Point 2, the micro-win system. Why hard work fails you. Let me expose a lie you've been told your whole life. Hard work guarantees success. If that were true, then every farmer working 16-hour days would be richer than billionaires. Clearly, effort doesn't equal results. So, what actually matters? Momentum. Here's the trick for lazy students. You don't need to study for 6 hours. You don't need to push until you burn out. You just need to generate small wins that snowball. Think of it like this. Your brain is addicted to dopamine, that little chemical of reward. When you try to force yourself to study for hours, your brain resists because there's no instant reward. But when you break it down into micro-wins, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, a single page, a single problem, you trick your brain into releasing dopamine over and over again. And suddenly, studying no longer feels like torture. It feels like progress. This is why most hard-working students eventually burn out, while the so-called lazy genius keeps going. Because you're not wasting effort on endurance, you're hacking momentum. And once momentum starts rolling, it's almost impossible to stop. So from now on, stop asking yourself, how much can I study today? Instead, ask, what's the smallest win I can get right now that moves me forward? Do this repeatedly, and by the end of the day, you'll have studied more than the hard-working guy, without ever feeling like you worked hard. That's how laziness beats discipline. Point 3. Leverage dead time. Invisible hours. Everyone wastes. Here's another brutal truth. You're wasting more time than you realize. Not the big chunks of time. You already know when you're scrolling Instagram for hours. I'm talking about the invisible hours, those 10 minutes before class starts, that 15-minute bus ride, the waiting period before dinner, the mindless scrolling right before bed. Most people throw away these dead times because they think it's too short to study. But that's exactly where the lazy student wins. Because these small windows of time, when stacked together, add up to hours every week. Imagine if every single waiting period turned into a micro-study session, reviewing flashcards, summarizing notes, listening to an audio lesson. You'd build knowledge without ever setting aside extra hours. The beauty of this system? It doesn't feel like studying. It feels like filling in gaps. And because your brain loves short bursts, it actually absorbs the information faster. That's the secret. Don't fight for long study sessions. Own the dead time. You'll be shocked at how much smarter you become without ever feeling like you sat down to grind. Point 4. Trick your brain with high-value triggers. Now, this one is deadly powerful, and once you use it, you'll never see studying the same again. Your brain is a slave to associations, meaning if you always study in the same boring environment, your brain automatically switches into tired mode whenever you sit down. That's why you feel sleepy opening your book. It's conditioning. The way to hack it is through high-value triggers. This means attaching studying to something your brain already loves. For example, create a rule that you only drink your favorite snack or beverage while studying, or that you only listen to a certain type of music during revision, or that you only allow yourself to scroll after finishing one page. What happens? Your brain starts craving study time, not because of the subject, but because it knows a reward is tied to it. Over time, your mind builds an association. Studying equals pleasure, not pain. And once that association locks in, you don't have to push yourself anymore. You're pulled automatically. That's the hidden psychology hardworking students never understand. They fight themselves while you reprogram yourself. That's why you win. And here's the twist. It doesn't just save time, it also builds confidence. Because when you walk into that exam, you're not guessing. You've seen the patterns. You've practiced the exact questions. You're walking in with the sniper's calm confidence, while others are panicking. That's the lazy genius edge. So now the question is simple. Are you really lazy? Or are you just secretly ambitious? Because you can't be both without making a choice today. And I want you to prove it right now. Drop a comment with just one word. Lazy, ambitious, or both. Why? Because the second you type it, you're declaring it to the world. If you type lazy, you'll feel the pressure to break out of it. If you type ambitious, you're promising yourself you'll rise. And if you type both, you're admitting you're the rare kind who can outsmart everyone else. So go on, type it below. Let me see who's brave enough to own their truth. And trust me, once you comment, you'll never look at yourself the same way again.